All right. Thanks for coming, everybody. Appreciate it. This is the PHAN and Air Support Project Zoom discussion on COVID, clean air, and the performing arts. My name's Teresa O'Connor. I'm the communications manager for Public Health Action Network. Um, we are joined today with uh, some, some other friends of PHAN, Amanda and Keith, who will be helping co-host the meeting. And today our special guests are Ben Hollis, who also
Hi
goes
there
by
all.
name of Wildflower. Thanks for coming.
No, thank you for
Uh,
having me along.
and Ben, remind me again where you're coming from, Norwich?
I'm coming from Norwich, which is about 2 hours outside of London in the UK.
Very good, thank you. We're also joined by Phytocene, who is a COVID conscious performer from France.
Hi,
Hi, thanks for coming. And we also
thank you.
have Kyle Stevens, who runs clean air events in Seattle, Washington. Welcome, Kyle.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right. Um, this should be a great discussion. This is being recorded, so we will make the recording available later on. And Keith and Amanda, I will hand it over to you.
Keith, you want to start it out since you're the party?
Well, I don't know. I'm, I get all shy in these type of situations, these interview situations, and
It's understandable.
our roster of people here today have told me that there's places I can't go with the questioning, and that really puts handcuffs on my intentions to really draw out the truth from these entertainers.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
seeking
so
truth.
so yeah, I mean, it's great to have you all here. If you are doing any form of performance in this world of COVID, that's great. That's kudos to you. It must take, quite an adjustment. So I guess I could start off with Kyle. I'll go with the first question to Kyle. So I noticed you do some gigs, right? Like weddings and things like that.
Yeah.
As a former DJ myself, dealing with that crowd is pretty hectic. In the 2019 world, is it more sort of I want to say annoying, but is it more wild now that you're wearing a mask and having air purifiers and setting up UV lights and stuff like that? Are people more kind of in your face, or are they more standoffish because you're wearing a mask and they're like, hey, that's Bane from Batman, I got to stay away from him? Or are they more, hey, can you play this song from 1991? What's it like?
I think it's Bane if I'm wearing my flow mask when I'm setting up to not have my glasses fog up, and I switch to my dragger. I'm the I don't know, I would say like the only DJ in America that eats cold teriyaki in their car every wedding. It's like we got we got a system that works. But in terms of the wedding DJ thing, in the before times I toured a lot as nerd rock artist Kirby Crackle and did wedding stuff on the off season. And then since the pandemic, I've switched to mostly DJ stuff, and I'm not really performing as Kirby Crackle. So it's changed. Like when everything got rescheduled from 2020 to 2021, we had this thing in Washington State where if you were a performer, which means that you were one of the couples getting married, or the bridal party or the officiant, you didn't have to wear a mask. You'd walk up there, you could take it off, you could put it back on again, and then people went to cocktail, and then they took it off. And you put it back on again as you go to dinner. So it was like this kind of like dance that happened at the dance. And then basically that's changed over time. So that like went away in 2022. And then slowly, people would take their mask off during reception. And then it'd always be like 45 minutes before the end of the wedding when the juice started to wear off. People would look around like, uh-oh, and put it back on again. So, and now people don't put it back on again at all. And I guess like my overall experience is people are kind of shy to me at the beginning and they think I'm sick. So I send an email to everyone the day before, be like, hey, I'm not sick. I'm just protecting myself and the bride and groom, to which then they don't respond to because they have the glaze. There's the physical glaze and the digital glaze, as we know. And then just to summarize the experience, I'd say last year we did a wedding and I was doing toasts in the middle of this big room. And people were talking about how they went through the pandemic and got over the pandemic together while like crying and having like an emotional, real reaction. And I'm like in the room and like an N95 looking around. So it's like I've kind of I've kind of had to be like Jim from The Office looking at the camera during situations like that. And I think at the end of the night, it all works out. But if there's one thing that I think everyone here would find very interesting, it's that, near the end of the night, people come up to me sometimes and they like lean into me and they say, "Hey, sometimes I wear a mask too." I'm like, "Okay, I didn't ask you, but okay, this is like confessional time." So people I think are working out things emotionally sometimes by me being there, and I make sure to write this down for the documentary 30 years from now or whatever we get.
Right.
So
I hear you. Everyone wants to tell me their chemotherapy story because they assume I have
yeah,
cancer.
yeah,
I don't have cancer, but I'll listen. I know like everybody in Kansas City. If you've had chemo, I know your story.
yeah.
That's
We
too
stop you in
funny.
the grocery store.
So yeah, a complete nuptial trip, I guess is what I would say weddings are right now.
Yeah, it must be like I said, I mean, having done events like that, set up, for corporate events, things like that, you're kind of, the outcast anyway. But if you're wearing a mask and people think you're sick, and even if they don't get that message, but the proactivity of, telling people, "Hey, I'm not sick. You can still come over and talk to me. It's preventative." I mean, that's a smart thing to do, and an adjustment that, you usually don't have to do stuff like that. I mean, in the 2019 world, it's like whatever, right? But now
Yeah.
we're more, there's extra steps to existing in the world of COVID. So when you're doing, music and events and things like that, it adds way more steps, right? It's how do you find the workload to do an event that you could have done in the past? Is it way more stuff, or are you just more accustomed to it now that time has gone on?
I think kind of both. Like I've adapted. I mean, obviously mitigation wise, how long it takes me to set up. The far UV alone is another 30 minutes that I didn't have to deal with before, and a lot of my time also is like getting there ahead of the time, scoping out the venue and see like what are the windows I can open because you see the AirNet 4 in the background there. Like I have that guy right on my desk, and it's amazing what happens playing these kind of open air hybrid venues. And then if you're in like a closed off cabin kind of area, and purposely I choose stuff where either I know the venue or I can figure it out beforehand and make sure that I'm just not going to be in a hot box. But I'm the guy who runs around and opens up windows without people knowing, and then they walk around like, "Why are the windows open in here?" And they close it again, and then when the wedding planner leaves, I go do it again. So it's like I'm just kind of like looking out for myself and my team there, and in tandem, hopefully that protects more people there with the far UV and the open air.
Sure, awesome.
I'm going to jump in here. This is for all of you, but I want to start with phytocene because I want to hear more about where you got started. Did you go to school for this? Did you start when you were 4? I was a music major the first time I went to college and I sang opera, but so I've been like following you and I love it. I'm just very glad you're here.
Thank you. Well, I've done music since I was like a little kid. I've started with piano, which I still do today. I do both classical music and like pop music. And I actually started doing gigs when I was maybe like 14 or 15 with like kind of like a rock band. So I clearly like saw the difference. Like I lived the difference between pre 2020 and right now. So yeah, I've done music basically my whole life. But right now it's just much more complicated for musicians. Yeah.
It is. It really is. We did a couple of years ago. We did a virtual concert with my group, a Black History concert. So it's really fun, but we have to come up with creative ways. So,
Yeah.
so what I want to hear about, like, what's your favorite gig? Like the one that stands out in your memory, or if you can't pick one, that's cool too.
Well, the like one of my gigs.
Yeah, something that you like a
Uh,
concert that you've done or something else.
well, I would say it's like the release party I did last year,
Oh yeah.
which was the first ever COVID conscious Masquerade release party in France.
Awesome.
Because in France there's not a lot of COVID conscious community. There are mask blocks and organizations, but I think it's not like in the US. It's much more smaller. So I'd say it was my favorite concert because when I got on stage, and I saw that every member of the audience had an N95 on. It was so cool to see, and I felt so safe and so protected, and it also created like a very special atmosphere. Like it was not a normal concert, it was like very special to me.
Yeah, it's a shared experience. I sang with the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra for about 10 years. But before I joined, I had a moment with a violinist on the stage. There was a guy sitting in front of me who was doing like a cough drop rapper, and he just like kept doing it for 10 minutes. And we were both looking at him like, is he gonna stop? And we're still friends like 25 years later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. That's a beautiful story. So Ben, I want to switch over to you really quick. When did you get started, and what brought you to this?
Well, I'm rather different to some of the other gigs that we're talking about because the things that I put on are virtual, they're not in person. And how it started is in 2020, the local open mic scene, the Norwich open mic scene, which was pretty healthy and fairly drunken, decided to go onto Zoom. And it was absolutely thriving. I don't know whether other cities had the same sort of thing, but we had dozens and dozens of regular people performing. And that went on throughout 2020, went on pretty much throughout 2021, although obviously people started drifting away. By 2022, though, we were kind of eking it out, and eventually everyone went back to sort of live performance and in-person performances. I was trying to sort of seek something out and trying to keep it going in some way, but there just weren't enough people locally. And reaching out internationally was hard until I got noticed on Twitter for something to do with my kids, and I was able to sort of leverage that sort of extra popularity to reach out online. So yeah, we run some things through Still Coding virtual meetups, and what that means is there's been an online open mic in every year of the pandemic so far. We've had 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26. And I've still got events booked late into the year. We're not expecting the pandemic to end anytime particularly soon. So yeah, there are a good number of people out there who are still taking it seriously. But part of it is a big difference between the UK and elsewhere. Can I just try a little test on everyone here? How quickly can all of you lay your hands on a 3M Aura mask? Can anyone get a 3M Aura mask within a few seconds?
I use a flow mask and it's over there.
There we go. But yeah, in the UK, I've seen one of these in person once. So this is the most sort of well-known mask in the COVID cautious community or COVID conscious community, and I've seen one once. I saw one last year at a tube station, and my kids were there, and they said, "Daddy, don't go over and leave them alone. Don't go over and speak to them or anything like that." So in the UK, I think, like Fatin was saying with France, it's very much harder trying to find people in person to do things with. So reaching out online is probably the best way. Unlike her, I'm not a professional musician. I'm a very much an amateur musician and encouraging of amateurs. So there's not the same sort of drive to go out and put on in-person gigs. I think if I were to do stuff in person, especially given the venues that I'd be like to play, which are dependent on alcohol sales, I think it'd be a big risk trying to do that with a lot of drunken people who, as I said, in the UK, people are almost entirely unfamiliar with these. You'll get people who work in trades who know them, but the idea of wearing masks for protecting yourself is almost unheard of here. I think my estimate would be somewhere between 1 in 10,000 and 1 in 50,000 people wearing a mask in the UK. Yeah, but the people who know the best would probably be the face mask store because they'd be able to tell you who they sell to. Obviously that's something they can't release. But yeah, there's not a large number of people to call on. So you very occasionally see some, especially if you go to London. But yeah, in terms of seeing people in my hometown, that's been a very, very rare thing. The one thing I would say is if you do go to the occasional protest, particularly trans rights protests, you do see some there. But yeah, finding a local COVID conscious community to put a band together would be very, very difficult. So yeah, it's really appreciated how many people have reached out online to do things.
Twitter's a great place for it too. We used to do Twitter Spaces, Med Twitter karaoke, and it was just people all over the world jumping in, and like some guy in a basement in Lagos, Nigeria, belting on Adele. It was awesome.
Although the slightly wild thing is almost nobody who's a regular attendee at my open mic actually follows me on Twitter. Most of them are on Facebook, so
Yeah.
they're not exposed to the interesting scene that you get on Twitter. But
Yeah,
obviously
wild.
you can sort of take advantage of the popularity in some way.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I've seen you singing in a mask.
Right? Yeah.
So that's something like, because a lot of people say, I can't do this. I can't, basically, I can't exist if I have a mask on, right? Is the sentiment. But I see you singing in a mask and it sounds great. I've tried it myself, and, it's kind of like a built-in pop filter to me.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so what's your experience with, like, do you feel like your vocals are restricted or you can't breathe, or how does it feel?
Well, the singing online is really a way of it actually protects me as a teacher, because there's a really strong perspective that you cannot teach in a mask, and you will come across lots and lots of people online who just say you cannot do that job in a mask. So okay, well, let me show you. So
Yeah.
I can't, as a professional standards issue, I can't post my classroom. It's completely there are teachers who post on TikTok and they post their kids on TikTok. I don't know why they don't get sacked for that. But yeah, it's not something that's appropriate to do. You just cannot post your students, and even posting my classroom would be a very, very risky thing to do professionally. So what I'm looking to do is just communicate this idea that you can do all sorts of things in a mask. You can do public performance, you can do public speaking. Realistically, the most I've gigged in a mask is actually at sort of school concerts. I have performed in a mask in public places, but it's tend to be very, very short gigs. And as I said, the alcohol issue is a risk. In terms of in terms of masks to sing in, 3M Aura is a really, really good mask to sing in. There are ones I find that are better, but because these don't move very much when you've got them against your face, you don't have this sensation against your lips. But the reality is, even the worst respirator mask is still much, much better than a cloth mask. Actually, can I show you something very exciting? Hang on. In the UK, you don't get N95, so this is actually the first N95 I've ever held, because it's a standard you don't get in Europe. So this was just one that somebody that's shipping me some masks just put one of those in by accident or as a sample. So yeah, this one is not great to sing in. There will be a video coming out soon, but it's more to do with how much you want them to touch your face or not. But as I said, my main message is about talking or teaching in a mask, rather than necessarily performing.
So it works. So if you can teach and sing in a mask, then you deduct that people could just wear masks, wouldn't you?
Mm.
I'm just gonna I'm not a scientist by any means, but you'd think they could just wear them. Now, some people actually cannot wear masks, and I will acknowledge this. But if you're singing and you're teaching, like, teaching is a rough job vocally anyway, because you're talking a lot, right? So to do that with a mask on, I mean, it's a lot of exertion and stuff like that, but you do it and you're singing and it sounds great. So I mean, it's an awesome example of how you can, still do things while you're wearing a mask.
Yeah, if anyone does want recommendations, I mean, I would say the 3M Aura is not. It's not. They're not cheap in the UK, so I don't tend to wear these. But they are a very, very good starting point if you're looking to do any public speaking or performance in a mask. There are other ones I find that are better, but you really need to know what country people are from, because it's just not helpful recommending somebody a mask that they cannot get unless they import it.
For sure.
Yeah, and even then, every mask fits different people differently. Like I can't. I have like no chin, or maybe I have chin. I don't know. But I like a regular duckbill just doesn't work. Flow mask actually is great for me, and I that's one that I can sing in.
Indeed. Something I'm interested in is how you all came into being COVID conscious, clean air aware. Phytocene, I'm interested in how and why you decided to perform being COVID conscious.
Well, I actually started to have information on COVID on Twitter around 2022, which is also when in France the mask mandates dropped. So I kind of never really stopped masking, which I'm glad I didn't. Um, and I started getting serious about music, like professionally, trying to have a career in 2020. So I kind of like never really had the opportunity to perform without taking precautions. And I was sort of forced because I couldn't unknow what I had learned about COVID and the dangers of it. And also, I think I have long COVID. So I didn't want to put myself at risk that way because for me, since the most important thing in my life is music, music is the main priority. And if I don't protect my health, I can't do music anymore. And I've heard of musicians that cannot play music anymore. They cannot read music like sheet music because they have cognitive issues. And so that kind of like breaks my heart hearing these stories. So I do everything I can to continue being able to make music because I can't imagine what I would do if I couldn't do the thing I love the most. So yeah, I kind of like was kind of forced to implement that, but that also means not performing, or at least not performing as often as normal artists. All my friends that are in the music spaces that are not COVID conscious by any means, they are performing maybe like, I don't know, 5 times a month, and I'm performing like once a year. So that will also affect being able to make a living, being able to get known, also to develop a fan base, your audience. So that has real implications on being able to make a career out of music. So that's both. I think that's both a chance to be able to know about COVID, but also sometimes I don't know. I don't wish I didn't know about it, and because of all the harm it causes, but sometimes I get jealous of seeing, all the other artists in my community just being able to perform and not think about that when I have to spend a huge amount of money if I want to perform in mask required spaces because I have to rent a venue, I have to implement the mask requirement, I have to give masks to the staff, and I have to lose a huge amount of money because I'm never filling a big venue because I'm not famous, obviously. So yeah, that has kind of repercussions on being able to financially being able to be an artist. Yeah.
Yeah, I see a lot of my friends still, they're still doing opera, but there's not a mask in sight. And it's like, this is not cool. You're like watching me. Do you not believe me?
Yeah.
That's frustrating.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that is interesting about the you kind of wish you didn't know what you know, but once you know, you can't
Yeah, you can yeah.
you
It's too
can't
late.
unknow it. You can't
Yeah.
unknow it. Absolutely. Yeah. Someone gave me the phrase "curse by knowledge." Ben posted. That's so true. Um, Ben, I'm interested in how you decided to be COVID conscious, clean air aware with your performing.
Well, the question with me is I'm not the interesting one. It's my children that are the interesting people here. And it's not a moral decision on my part or even my wife's part. A good way to understand it is that some people at World Health Network have done some stuff on why people gave up. Obviously, once upon a time, almost everybody was COVID conscious, and then the vast majority of people went to ignoring it. And if you're a parent, the big reason is that if you've got children in school and your children can't manage lone masking, as the vast majority of children can't do that sort of thing, then you've really got no choice. other than to just give up and take it. I'm in this strange position. As I said, it's not a moral thing. It's purely by accident, and somebody had to be in this position. We were already home educating the children at the end of 2019, not for very long. They've been in mainstream school and they've been very successful. But we were home educating before the pandemic hit. So when schools closed and everyone went home, and children were trying to learn from home, what they were doing wasn't actually real home education, or it wasn't real homeschooling. It was an unpleasant experience. Whereas we were suddenly like, oh well, we know how to do this. We can cope with it. And we kept the kids off until 2022. It's also a really important factor that my children are twins, and they're very tight as a link. So when we did decide to start them in school in 2022, they were just about able to manage lone masking. So they were able to support each other. They're also very, very capable students. This is not something that every student would be able to do, but they've got each other. They've got support. It's not insignificant that the dad was already teaching in a mask. So obviously I kept teaching in a mask while they were being home educated. So they had a little bit of support from me there. But really, the real question is why did other people give up? It's not why did I manage to keep doing this. It's why did others give up? As I said, in terms of the music, I got a certain amount of attention online for some things that I posted about my kids in school, and was then, as I said, able to sort of convert that into I can start asking people and inviting people. So, as I said, it was something where I've continued. The question is, why did everyone else give up? And most of the time, that's because if you have children, it's very, very hard to. The obvious thing is my colleagues. So I've got teaching colleagues. They can obviously see I can teach in a mask, but why would they? Because they've got their own children who are going to other schools, and they'd just be bringing infections home otherwise. So it's better to just ignore it. And there's a good phrase is there's huge pressure to not know. Like we all know, but everyone else is under this huge pressure to not know. Because let's say some of us had to give up for whatever reason. Let's say we couldn't sustain it, or a family member couldn't sustain it. We would have to not know, because otherwise you just go out of your mind.
Yeah, it's so true. It's really hard. I kind of want to. I'm afraid I'm going to forget this by the end. I was going to save this question for the end, but I want to go back. I want to go back to you, phytocene, because it is hard to operate in this position. Where do you see yourself going in the near future? What are your hopes?
Well, my main hope, which is a bit delusional, but my main hope would be the sterilizing vaccine, which everybody's talking about, which is supposed to come. I mean, it was supposed to come like in 2 years, but now it's like 2030. We don't really know, but I'd say that would be my main hope, because my second hope would be that people care, and I don't think people are gonna care. I don't see a situation where people take public health seriously, because of everything that's around it, because of capitalism. It's not possible for people to imagine another society. They're too used to the current one, and I don't think people are gonna accept. Because if people did, I mean, we could eradicate basically every airborne pathogen if we just masked for maybe, I don't know, 2 years, and everyone masked everywhere with N95. I think we could eradicate, like we did during the lockdowns. We eradicated flu strain. So I think we could, but it's not going to happen, which is really, I think, ungrateful, because of all the tools that we have. We have masks, we have air purifiers, we have far UVC, which are tools that we didn't have, I don't know, in the Middle Ages, and people were dying and couldn't do anything about it. So we're still acting like we're in the Middle Ages. So I think as a musician, all I can hope is that venues get more inclusive. Venues accept to do masquerade shows, and there's more and more clean air clubs and clean air organizers, and also to make revenue out of streaming and merch and, you know, online basically. So I can do that remotely and not really participate, which is a shame because I actually invested. So in 2020, I invested a lot of money on live gear. So basically, like thousands of euros on gear, so I could perform live with like good quality live. And now I can't really use that, so I can't really get a return on my investment. So yeah, financially, it's not sustainable to be an artist if you can't perform live. So you either have to go viral on TikTok and, you know, get lots of streams. That's basically my only hope. That and the vaccine, which I don't know about. Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate what you said about it, about society as a whole, just taking the stuff for granted and being ungrateful for what we do have,
Yeah.
and not using that.
Can I just jump back to Kyle for a second?
Absolutely.
But yes, it's a great point. Phytocene, it must be really frustrating because you know that we know how to win, right? We have the tools, and so you can't explore the full range of opportunities with your talent because we're just refusing to use the things we have, right? It's like we need a hammer, and the people are still, trying to do it with a piece of wood, and it's like we got a hammer right here. Just use the hammer, and we're not doing it. And it's cut, like you said, we could if we came together and we really had a plan and we had good leadership. And I laugh because I mean, we could eradicate things and give ourselves a good buy ourselves a few years to wait for more advances in vaccines and things like that. But it's just not happening. So, for me, it's super frustrating. But for you, it must be like, so you're just, you were just getting started and you're like, I'm going to go out on the road and we're going to do this thing. And then it's like, right. And it's, we have the way to make it so that you could do that again. And people are just, just for whatever reason, I mean, just don't want to do it, right? And that really stinks.
Exactly.
But we still appreciate your music, and hopefully you won't ever stop playing it because wherever you're creating that music is still you're adding something positive to the world, and because it could be a while before those vaccines come. We'll keep hoping for it, and hopefully people will keep working on it, right? So, but yeah, you better keep playing. So back to Kyle. What was your main motivation, or multiple motivations for going, COVID aware, COVID safe, deciding to create more work for yourself in life? What motivated you to do it?
Good question. I've been trying to think of that answer as other guests have been talking. I think it's multifaceted. I mean, like Ben, I have two little kids, so it's important for me to be able to look them in the face and say, like, to the level that my privilege allows, I'm doing everything to set them up for a situation. I really fear for people in the future who have to have these conversations with their kids if they choose to answer honestly about why didn't you protect me or why didn't you do everything you could. That's not going to be fun. And I'm, like many people here, I'm not going to be a part of that. So, for me, it's having two little kids. You can see all the superhero stuff in the background. Like I'm a product of 90s comic explosion. So, in the before times, my main career was touring as a nerd rock artist, Kirby Crackle. So it's songs about comics and video games, but everything sounds like alternative pop rock stuff. So it's messages within like the pill of alternative rock, right? And so a lot of what those storylines are about are protecting people, sticking up for the vulnerable when you see an opportunity to step up in defense of people, do that. So continually, I think about it every week. In my mind, like, at least, nerds or comic book nerds, my people, is like we grew up, wanting to emulate these storylines and these heroes. And so I feel like we were given an opportunity to do that. Like we could step up in a modern time equivalent of that real world experience to say, like, what can I do to protect myself, my kids, my family, and my community. And as we can see, obviously, a lot of people chose not to do that. For those of us who had, like phytocene was saying, once you know things, you can't unknow them. Well, you can choose to, but that's a different place, I
Right.
think. But yeah, for those of us who choose to, embrace those qualities, I think we're forever changed in that way, and it changes our outlook. It changes the way we picture what our lives were, what they're going to be, what we can assume they're going to be, how we can, purposefully engage with making our lives smaller if we're trying to engage the chutes and ladders of getting to a better place around the bend somehow, albeit not how we want it to be. So given that, I think for me it was just like in my spirit, or whatever is the makeup of me, to move in that direction. With my experience with doing production and concerts with Kirby Crackle, that's how we moved into providing those mitigations at weddings. FAR EVC specifically was in tandem with my wife being diagnosed with breast cancer in 2023, of which she's making a full recovery. So we're very thankful for that. But engaging with, like, how are we going to stay safe or keep her safe in these chemotherapy clinics when we have to go in there once every couple of weeks? And there's people like, dick nosing the mask below, and like just like hanging out, like nurses not doing anything and people coughing everywhere. So it started to be like this game of like, how do we create kind of like this bubble, but also provide education? And so it was just, as you can assume, wild how people would engage or wouldn't engage with that technology. Nurses would go, "Oh, we should have that here." Then the conversation would stop, like not going further from there. Um, but then it just kind of became, the 30 minutes pain in the butt it takes to set up at weddings just became part of the deal. And now if I don't
Yeah.
have it, it's like I don't have my keys with me, right? And so that naturally moved into clean air events, which is, basically me and some staff that I have helping run events when they're there, to try to create like a premium experience for people who are COVID aware, clean air aware, and think like, what would I want to see there? What would be what I would feel like beyond an expectation. So when they go there, they go to their COVID conscious friends and say like, "This is crazy. Can you believe this? Like someone's doing this." And it kind of feels like punk rock and feels like we're all in it together, because we are. But just, I think, my wife and I talk about often about, participating in making our life small, but for reasons of our own choosing. And so, my
Yeah.
kids are my 10-year-old is very involved. Like she helps set up, she stands in front of me and kind of gives the welcome every time, in her Max Air capper, like a little sentry with her hands behind her back. I mean, she's in, like she's dialed in. So, she doesn't have the years of like, codependence like maybe their parents have, of like, oh, I don't want to upset these people, or I don't want to make them uncomfortable. Like she will go there and she'll just say exactly what she thinks. And so she's an inspiration to me to continue to stand in the truth of what we're all doing here, and try to create the world that we want.
Well, I like that part where you mentioned it's, kind of punk rock and it's kind of, the superhero sort of mindset where, some days I feel very frustrated with this whole situation. Other days I feel like, hey, you know, we're standing up against, the majority of disinformation and misinformation and stuff. And you do kind of feel like, yeah, I'm kicking butt. And I think a lot of people who are in the COVID aware community don't realize how much pride they have in themselves, because every day you just keep doing it, right? Like you said, it becomes part of your routine. It's
Hmm.
not it's not a big burden to do the things, to take these steps, because you do it so often, and you've told yourself and you've justified, this is why I'm doing it, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's fun being a superhero who's, your super strength is, you can ward off peer pressure, right? You can ward off the herd mentality of this would be easier and more fun. Of course it would, but the world changed, right? So I think a lot of people in the community should take a lot of pride from that.
Yeah,
If
I
I
think.
can, if I can jump in over peer pressure, one of the interesting things is we're all experts on peer pressure. So certainly within the group that I run, we're able to exert quite a lot of good peer pressure on people to perform. And some of the things that we end up doing, or some of the stranger things that people have ended up performing, have come because of the fact that we're all putting this good pressure on each other to take part or perform. So yeah, we've become experts in some way.
100%.
I have
Yeah.
a question. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. You're right.
Oh no, I have a question for all three of you, but go finish your thought and then I'll ask it.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm fully, I watch a lot of documentaries, and something I think about lately is I think we're aware of the care that we're all exerting and that we're on this alternate route to, well, I believe getting to the same place we're all going to have to get to if we want to survive. Getting, society's taking the longest way to get there, and we'll see people when they finally get there, hopefully. But I think we're building this tapestry of love and praxis that I don't think we're fully aware of yet. I think, watching documentaries like just like hip hop documentaries or punk rock in the 70s, people talk about it from a way of we were just doing what we were doing, and we didn't really understand where this was going to go 20 years later. Granted, they didn't have those kind of lanes of entertainment then, so they couldn't view them how we're viewing that, trying to piece where are we in that story right now. I think we kind of have an idea, but I also think we're building something to which, not only in benefits of health, but with a pride and kind of like leadership later on, whether or not people will acknowledge it in mass. I think we know what we're doing, and I think for a lot of us, we've kind of removed ourselves from needing the acknowledgement and just knowing that we're doing a good job.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah, really. And it's been 6 years of this. That's pretty extraordinary. Um, but I have a question for all three of you, and this is only half hypothetical. It's also half, hey, can we do this? If we were to have a concert next week and the three of you were involved, what would that look like?
Well, I'll jump in first and say, first thing I would be doing is seeing who else I could get to come and play, so you wouldn't be listening to me. I the format the format that I run is rather than people doing sort of half-hour sets, we've got people calling in from Germany through to Vancouver, so people at different time zones. I'm running them at times when I can have a drink, and that's okay. But some people are calling in from the middle of the day. So what we do is we play sort of one song or two songs at a time and go rounds, just to keep people just to keep people interested. So if I were involved, I'd be doing probably one song at a time and then getting someone else to do things as well. It's a bit more interesting for you,
Right?
because as I said, I'm very much an amateur. Whereas obviously with phytocene, you listen to it and goes, wow, that's somebody who knows what they're doing.
Right? Oh, I know. I mean, playing piano is hard. I taught myself when I was 13, but I will never be at that level. Like, I don't even want to play publicly. But no, and watching Phytocene is just like, this is amazing. This is really amazing. What would that look like for you?
I'd actually love to participate in a concert with only COVID conscious artists, because the difficult thing is, so when I do my COVID conscious shows, I invite non-COVID conscious artists to do my support acts or DJ sets. Um, First of all, because there's not really any other COVID conscious artists that I know, but also it raises an issue of artistic direction, because we all need to be in the same music style or close for a concert to work. If you do a lineup, you need to have similar styles. So that's also an issue, because that's not because we are all COVID conscious that a concert, because if you prefer like morals or music, and we're trying to do both, but that's also an issue with how to implement COVID conscious music without compromising the music itself, and still being able to make events that are appealing to, I mean, the non-COVID conscious people, the people that don't know what we know.
Right? This is something I would actually really consider doing at some point, like finding a way to digitally bring a lot of us together, because there's so much extraordinary talent, and it's not just like, I would love to bring more people into this fold, people who I want them to be COVID conscious. It would be nice to bring another artist to be like, hey, this is also a matter of accessibility. Let's give people the whole range of art. What about you, Kyle? What did it look like?
Yeah, you know, kind of what I've been focused on lately is the clean air events stuff and making sure that people know they're stepping into a place that's highly mitigated and welcoming and inclusive of people who aren't COVID conscious. That's been a real struggle for me. I thought that, when I did this, it was the first show with clean air events I played. It was my first show in 6 years. And I thought like my fan base was going to come over to this. And there's like one person who came. So that was like I used to play, like 150 person shows in Seattle, and then like one person came. You could say, okay, the amount of time that has gone by. I think it's a mix of that, but mostly I think that it was mitigated and people were, taking precautions. As we know, that's really hard to get people to start masking again who haven't. My wish was that we could do what we're doing, but then get people there who haven't gone to these COVID safe shows. Because I think what happens is, I know, especially, well, I know for people who care about COVID, is you have like a nervous system come down, and all of a sudden you're in a place where like this part of your brain shuts off. This militant part of your brain shuts off that you haven't had to, that you have had to use for a long time. And people just kind of like have this sense of joy, kind of like Phytocene was saying at the show that they did, and how it was just like that, such a warm feeling. But to show people that even if you don't care about COVID, you're tuning into something that your body knows, I think, which is as much as you try to push it down, that COVID is still here, and that everyone around you is caring about you. And that's also, I think, really important that I don't know where other places people are getting that on that deep level, except for this community. But something that I encourage any artist to do, like Phytocene, Ben, is like I was for a long time, at least in my experience, concerned about the fact that the shows I was putting together weren't going to be like-minded genres. And what we found, just like Positive Defiance on the East Coast, who does a similar thing, is that the praxis and the morals are the glue. Like you could have a Georgian chant group, an acoustic singer-songwriter, and a rapper. And like on paper, that makes no sense in the before times, right? But at least what it does here is our shows is an intersection of those genres, but also everyone is there for the main reason. Like we're all there for this thing, which is staying safe and having entertainment. And I find, at least in my experience, that there's a big pass that's given in that way. And it's kind of like, well, what kind of trick is next? What kind of random thing is here? I don't even know these artists, but I'm around people who care about the same thing as me. And it becomes, at least in our experience, half of that and half about the music.
Yeah. I would go to that concert for sure. That would be great.
Yeah, because it's weird. Like I never imagined when I was younger, a bonehead teenager, hey, someday I will be a symbol of, health and public
I've never
health
had
and
that
safety. I mean, I was a knucklehead, complete knucklehead. There's no possible way if someone said, hey, someday a virus will come along and you will be out here fighting with a group of Avengers from all over the planet to get people to wear masks. I'd be like, masks? Come on. What is this, Scream? I'd be like, no way. I'm never going to do that. So, it's doing these events, right? And, having that symbolic sort of, undertone or overtone, whatever, just that output of that feeling, right? That communal sort of empathy and sympathy is, it's awesome, right? And that's why it's so important. So to get more people to do it, we have to promote anything any of you are doing. If you guys are like, hey, we're going to throw on, I'm playing the piano today, and I want to do it live, then we're going to pump that out. Same for anything. Like if you live stream any of your events, Kyle, and you need it pumped out, we need to do that to show more people, hey, it can be done, and it's fun when you do it. It's not just for the public health message. It's still fun. Like we still like having fun, even though we wear masks. We're always screaming at people to be healthy and live longer and stuff. But yeah, no, it's awesome to acknowledge that, that spirit, that being part of a COVID aware or any aware. If you're part of a community that recognizes anything that's special, it's great, right? And a lot of people forget that. I mean, it's a lot of moving parts, and there are no small ones. So that's a great acknowledgement.
And it's also the way that you present it, I feel like. And I mean, and maybe, in the first couple of years of the pandemic, we would have been a little more shy about it. Like, well, it's this concert, people have to wear masks. Sorry, you got to come here and wear a mask and you got to do this. But now it's
I
like,
know they're
yeah,
weird. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like, yeah, you got to wear a mask. And if you don't, you got to leave. Like, period. Like, like we're going to have this great time. We tell people up front, like, if you're not wearing your mask, we're gonna ask you to put it back on, and if you don't, then we have to have our security team make you leave. Sound great? Everyone's like, yep, great. Okay, good. We all know what we're in for. We're not messing around, and normalize this kind of stuff.
Right.
It's like the indoor smoking adjustment, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
it's like we're going to stop smoking indoors. Like I had relatives who were gradually, it went from, well, you can stand at the kitchen window and smoke to get out of the house, right? So I mean, that's kind of where we are, right? We're in that transitional, but we've made it to the point where, like you said, it's like no mask, no entry. I mean, it's like no shirt, no shoes, no sale kind of thing, right? And that's good because it comes with the confidence of practicing these things for years, right? It takes a lot of confidence to be all of you, which is super commendable and super inspirational, right? Yeah, it's awesome.
A friend of mine at the beginning of the pandemic, she's also an opera singer, started a group on Facebook, Concerts in the Loo, and it was just musicians all over the world going and recording a song that they perform in their bathroom in front of a mirror. It was great. But so the group of us, you three included, we're gonna go out and do some karaoke. What's your song? What are you gonna play or sing or whatever you want to do?
Amanda, stress to them that this is the most important answer to the most important question they have ever been asked. Your entire reputation, reputations rest upon this answer.
There might be a Grammy for it. I don't know. What do you think, Kyle? What's your song?
Oh, anything 90s R&B, I would say, like Return of the Mac or Waterfalls by TLC.
Oh my God, yeah.
Or something like that, so I can pretend that I was participatory in that time. My kid might not know Gen Z slang, but she can tell you the members in Vogue. Like that's homeschooling, I guess, so.
These are the important things these kids need to learn.
The important things, yes. Unrelatable to anyone in the future, but people our age will be like, I like that kid. So, that's the
right. I try to learn things before my 13-year-old does, so when I bring it up, it's not cool anymore.
Yeah.
And then I don't have to worry about it. I say 6, 7, and he's like, "Oh, you took my cool away."
Yeah, good job.
Well, just let you know, if you've got a 13-year-old, you're rapidly coming up on a stage where you can just steal their music.
Right.
And that's my kids are now old enough that I can just listen to them. And I've stolen my son's clothes actually today. This is his jumper. But yeah, I don't need to buy records anymore. Or rather, they buy records for me for my birthday or for Christmas and say, can we buy Daddy a record that we really like instead? So yeah, I've been bought FKA Twigs and Cameron Winter and stuff like that just because they wanted it, and Caroline Polachek because they wanted it.
I spent 4 months learning the lyrics to Nueva York. My kid doesn't even know who Bad Bunny is, and I'm so disappointed.
Well, that'll happen. That'll happen soon. We went out on an expedition to buy the LP a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. What's your song, Ben? What would you do?
Well, I'm going to subvert the question a little bit and just hold up this vast pile of paper here. Hang on.
Yes.
His favorite song is Olive.
The format of what I do is because we have an event where we've got a few dozen people who are regulars, but we're all playing to the same people all the time. So we have to basically force people to play new material, and you can't write a new song each week. I mean, lots of us are songwriters, and you can't. There is one person in the COVID conscious community who can write about 3 songs a week, but there's only one person I know in that position. So what we do is we tend to set sort of themes and challenges for learning new stuff. So that's why I've got the vast quantity of stuff there. But I've had to pick a couple. I'd either pick, for me, Tina Turner's Simply the Best, because I do it well, or otherwise I'd pick Cameron Winter's Love Takes Miles, because that's something that when my son bought me the album, and then basically he bought me the album and then it disappeared up to his room and I barely listened to it.
What about you, phytocene? What's your song?
I think anything by James Blake. I don't know if you guys know him.
Oh, I'm not familiar.
Well,
that makes a lot of sense. That makes so much sense in terms of your sound.
Yeah, I'd say maybe the most famous song of his is Retrograde. But anything, it's a huge inspiration for my kind of music, which is like, ambient, electronic, pop, but not really pop, that kind of alternative kind of music. So yeah, anything by James Blake, I love him.
I've got to ask, Martin, are you a fan of The Knife at all? Obviously, they're a little bit before your time.
I did used to listen to them a lot when I was younger, yeah. It's funny you say that because I had completely like forgotten about them, yeah.
Yeah, it's just Heartbeats has been a favorite at the event I run. Several people have done really good versions of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you, Keith? What's your song?
I'm stuck in the 70s. I mean, I'm talking. My favoriteest of all time song to sing is "Take It Easy" by the Eagles.
Yeah, that's good.
But I like mixing it up to weird songs. What's that one? Tarzan Boy by Baltimorea.
Are we allowed to swear on this? Because there's a phrase about the Eagles
Absolutely.
from a certain movie where
The dude.
the dude
The
expresses
dude,
his
man.
opinion on the
Yeah.
Eagles. Yeah. At my event, the Eagles not banned, but if there's ever a week where I'm not around, then people are more than welcome to play the Eagles then.
I just hate the Eagles, man. Get out of my cab. Yeah, I know the exact scene. He just wanted his credence back. That's all.
I've actually been married twice. Both times, they were a son of a preacher man. So Dusty Springfield, son of a preacher man. That's my song.
Ooh, I could do Amanda. I could do your backing track for that if you wanted. That's
Absolutely.
that was before in the before times. That was something I used to play quite a lot.
Love that song.
In the olden days, in the before.
Back in my day. That would be fun. I think it really would be fun to do some type of virtual concert, bringing all of us together at some point. Um, we could pull in like half the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra. They would be down for it. Just make it fun. I think that would be awesome. What are some, actually, it was, and since I'm going to forget this thought if I don't say it now, what are some things that we can help do for all of you, like especially you, phytocene, because I would love to see more of you being shared everywhere.
Well, as we all said, it's kind of complicated to like try to promote things online when we are all in our respective countries. That's kind of because I have kind of like I said moderate following on Twitter, and I have lots of likes and shares every time I post something. But last year I did my release party and it was like a 400 people venue and there was only like 100 people because in France there's not a lot of, especially in Paris, there's not a lot of COVID conscious people. So that's really, you know, the difference between online and then the real life if you want to, you know, get people to go to a show. So but my music can be listened online, and like I said earlier, I think my only hope to make a living out of this is to get famous online and to get revenue out of streaming, so that that can be useful. And I'm really incredibly grateful to the COVID conscious community because every time I have a new song or I release a music video or anything, these people who I don't know, like we don't really know each other, but we are tied by one really strong set of morals. And that really is the most supportive community I've ever been part of. Because I have a lots of, you know, causes that I've been active in my life, but the COVID conscious community is the most supportive. And I think the reason for that is because that's such a huge that has huge implications on everyday life, because that's not just like, you know, I'm a vegan, so that's really easy compared to wearing a mask for me. That's just a diet thing, like you can just eat whatever, but wearing a mask has social implications. You wear a mask and people see you wearing a mask, so socially you're really impacted. And so I think that's what ties us together and what makes us a great community and supportive of each other. And I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, you've got a huge fan base in the COVID conscious community, like everyone loves you and for good reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Any thoughts to tag on to that, Ben? Or Todd?
Um, in terms of making money out of music, I mean that's hard enough for everybody anyway. I mean it does help if as Phytocene does, you've got enormous amounts of talent. Um, I'm I'm not the person you speak to on that particular thing because as I said, I'm at the amateur end of things. And what as I said, what I do is it's hard getting an audience for amateur music. So same as in the in-person world, you basically get the bands to be each other's audience. If you can put on 10 artists and then they are each other's audience, then at least you've got 10 to 20 people watching your show, which is not nothing. It's not the same as playing to an empty room. So as I said, in the events that I run, and I'll put some links in the chat to those. There is a privacy element because obviously people in the group, I don't know whether people have health problems. I know that some people have some. I know that some of the people who attend regularly have health problems, but it's really none of my business. But we have to assume that people want to guard their privacy. So if you do want to come along, then send me an email. Send me something about your own COVID precautions. There's a couple of people who are in the meeting here who know how those things work. But yeah, it's something where it's amateur level. It's a bit better than karaoke, but you have to accept that this is not something people would necessarily pay money for at the level that I run. I suppose in terms of making money from music generally, if you think about where music is compared to where sport is, there's obviously lots and lots of people who play sport at an amateur level, and people who play sport at an amateur level are the audience for bigger sports events. Same with music. Plenty of concerts. You'll go to a concert and you'll find that half of the audience plays an instrument. That's certainly true within the classical tradition as well. So I don't know if we can get more people playing and singing and just create an audience that way. But yeah, if I knew how to solve the problem of how to make money from music, I would be doing that instead.
Right. I was making too much money in music, so I went into archaeology where you make even less.
Mm.
And I have made negative $17 million from music over the years. My Weird Al renditions are known to trigger anger in many of my Muggle friends who are, why are you always singing about masks now, right? I don't know.
Guilty or not.
Weird Al wins Grammys, and I just, get yelled at. But someday my album's going to go double bronze or nickel, maybe.
Whatever,
Maybe.
yeah.
Triple nickel, that's like 17, 18 copies worldwide.
6, 7.
If I could go triple nickel, I mean, you're just rolling in the money. We could do a whole tour then with that kind of cash.
What about you, Kyle? What would it look like? Or I'm sorry, what was I?
So the specific question is like, how do people make money right now?
It could be that. It could be how can we best help you? What would help you further this vision that you have?
Yeah, I think echoing the other artists here, it's sharing stuff, just getting the word out and trying to navigate the algorithm is a huge thing. I mean, we recently had we were doing, we had an 8 concert series called Clean Air Events Presents, and that started in July, every other month until it's culminating and finishing in June. And the first 5 shows, we were having 75 to 80 people. It was awesome. And then the last 2 shows, we had 12 to 15 people. And it's so it's very odd. Is that people didn't have interest anymore? I don't think it's that. I think it's the reach of the algorithm getting to people. So I think that, email lists are still king. I think of letting people know that that's the direct way to reach people. When I hear Phytocene talking and Ben talking, I think it's great to do the online experiences still. There's I think a myth that people aren't wanting that anymore. I couldn't say it's further from the truth. So many of us in this community are dying for more. So please bring it back. Give us reasons to give you $10 to have a fun night and see our community and listen to great music, knowing it's going directly to the artists. I always think about custom songs would be awesome. I could see Phytocene being super successful with that. Lots of people like having custom songs for gifts or even just a minute kind of thing like that. I used to do that for years, and that was always a fun experience. And just letting people know how to support you. I think showing up to shows, supporting people when they have a new album out, if you have a new t-shirt out, anything like that, just getting the word out to people. People want to buy things that make them feel good. They want to support artists that make them feel good, especially knowing it's going direct to source. And I think that's where stuff like Patreon really comes into play, and just direct to artist payments and experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if anything, humans are innately creative. Obviously, we're all here because we are creative people. We can come up with creative solutions too. And I really think that having a digital version of a lot of these things is one avenue.
We just had a good comment about this. Leora Madison said, with gas skyrocketing, now could be a time for our digital creators to really capitalize and go, hey, you don't want to be driving 2 hours to that concert. It's going to cost you an arm and a leg. So we're doing this here. So good time to really capitalize on that. And again, we can share the heck out of whatever any of you are doing. If, it doesn't matter about the population, the amount of people that are going to attend, this community is about promoting each other, right? If it's like, we're doing a little show, we want to pump it out to everybody, right?
It's an accessibility issue too. When we have this opportunity, if I can go get like the concert master at the St. Louis Symphony and put him in a concert somewhere, that's something that unless you're in the St. Louis area, you're going to miss out on it until we put it online.
Mm-hmm.
And how many people before COVID couldn't attend concerts for whatever reason? That number is growing exponentially. Yep. So, this is the time for us to really highlight the talent and this, the spirit and the positivity of all of you. Because we don't want that fire to burn out, right? We want to keep throwing some more kindling on it, and it's what we need, right? It's what
set things on fire.
Yeah, I mean, are we lighting things on fire again, Amanda? Just let me know. I will get the jerry can and we will burn this mother down. I don't know what's going on. I'm just always in. If it's a crime or whatever, I am down. Okay.
Oh yeah, we are going to eat donuts and do crime for it.
Whatever we got to do. Okay.
You guys make a great point too. It's like these needs existed before COVID, but so many of us tuned into them now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in realms of disability justice and accessibility of, what can we do to make sure that we are serving our community, serving other communities? Because yes, is online performing the same thing as being in front of a room of people singing back to you? No, it never will be. But that's not what we're trying to recreate here. We're trying to create community. So
yeah, and it's something that didn't exist. And if you need it, go make it. Let's just make it.
It's a virtual wheelchair ramp that we can apply to anywhere, right? There's many people who, for whatever reason, for decades, could not leave the house, right? If it was they didn't have transportation, the lack of accessibility, just their physical condition, and so all of your talent can bridge that gap, right?
For or maybe they're taking care of other people, or maybe they have sensory issues, right? Where they get freaked out by being around too many people. I feel like I'm encountering more of those sorts of folks all the time. So I think more virtual events would be awesome. And Sarah reminded folks we do have a weekly and monthly newsletters that we can promote events in, and we'll be paying more attention to virtual and online events to help promote those.
Yeah, we've got so many advocates and allies in the community who have huge platforms. Let's just do it. Let's just go for it.
Amanda's got this great, huge Facebook group.
I'm thinking like even bigger than that. Like, hey, Morgan, go share this.
Oh, right. Amanda's got this Rolodex of people that knows. And
I started a cult in my small town. I mean, a study group for COVID info. It's a study group. Do not call the police. Study group, not a cult.
Matching Nikes.
Right. Incidentally, yes, we all wear the same shoes.
I don't wear any shoes. I rarely wear shoes, but I'm here all the day.
All right. Do we have any more questions from you guys?
Yeah. Any questions from the gallery?
I think we've been answering them as we go along.
Yeah,
I see Kyle posted you can sign up for his you have a newsletter, Kyle?
Yeah. So it's the email list. We're doing physical shows in Seattle, but also we're expanding to online offerings. People like Ben, phytocene, I'd love to have them on the show, and people can tune in, listen to a concert, and have a Q&A afterwards. We've done some book signings, like virtual book signings where the author will come in and talk about that, either hosted by myself or my wife Kristen. Wanting to create, we haven't figured this out yet, but wanting to create kid positive spaces. Um, that aren't 20 kids yelling at the same time, but like kids artists or maybe a speaker or a couple kids coming and sharing their experiences being COVID aware people, because I think that's a really underserved demographic. And I think the WHN does that kids newsletter,
Kids
the
Zone,
Kids
right?
Zone. I think that's
Yeah,
awesome, and it's
yes.
consistent and it's great. And as far as I can tell, that's the one thing that exists like that. I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we
No,
need a lot.
I think you're right. I think I mean, that's really the only one that I know about.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
love they're still doing it. It's quality. It's great.
that was when the pandemic started. I got sick before anything closed, and I didn't know if I was still contagious, and I knew I couldn't get sick with anything else. I did not leave my apartment for 4 months, but I started teaching online enrichment classes. Oh my gosh, I was happy for the first time in years. Like I was doing something I really loved. It's fun, and I think a lot of kids have been left behind in this process.
Absolutely. As Chelsea is bringing up a question, isn't there a
Yeah,
kids choir?
Mm.
I know there's a COVID choir, COVID conscious choir. I don't know if there's kids choir. That would be great.
There
That
is
would
a
be
lot.
Pretty sure it is a kids choir. Actually, it's in the UK, is it not? Somebody correct me.
There is a long COVID kids choir. They don't necessarily intersect with the COVID conscious community. That's something where it's long COVID community, but not necessarily the CC community as well.
Gotcha. It's a start.
that is
I'm glad.
interesting.
I'm glad it's there.
Something I've heard people talk about too in this community is I don't like using the word influencers at all, but
Right.
online personalities or whatever you want to say.
Right.
Like there's a lot of adults, but there's hardly any kids. And I think it's interesting. I think there's also like a protection that we're all trying to make sure is not to
Very
expose the
much
kids
so.
online, to
Yeah.
have the trolls come in. And what does that look like? Because it's important, but also we know the bad things that can happen. And so it's something that we're always trying to talk about over here to how to.
It would be a huge threat to my own family.
Yeah.
My kids do not want to be advocates.
Yeah.
They may decide to be at some point in the future, but it would actually it would be one of the biggest things that would make them give up.
Yeah. My
So
kid-
yeah, they want to take it day by day, and they're a little bit alarmed that their daddy seems to be one of the people sorting things out, because they know what I'm like usually. They'd rather somebody else that was more professional was doing that sort of thing. But I think that it is very, very important we do protect the children in the community, and I'm very wary of sharing anything when there's somebody's put their kids' photos up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've definitely leaned a lot more into that in recent years. I had a picture of my son that he made up on the wall behind me, but you could still see his face, so I took it down and put something else. But no, there and if you're going to put a recording on YouTube, you can't have kids in that recording. If they're under 18, it's not going on YouTube.
Well, so in terms of music, one of my sons is a talented artist, and his thing is album art. In fact, I'm wary of saying this, but we went to see a band, and usually you go to the band, they're at the merch stall afterwards, you can buy their merch, and they signed it. He went to the merch stall with his sketchbook and got them to sign his sketchbook.
That's cool.
We did buy the LP as well, but yeah, rather
Oh.
than having a signed copy of rather than the kids having a signed copy of the album, yeah, the band signed his artwork instead. In fact, I will if I just turn. Actually, I don't know if I can do that, but if I were to turn my camera off, it's my profile picture on here. So yeah, the profile picture is something my son drew of a band that we went to see.
Cool.
Oh, that's so fantastic. Any final thoughts? If there's one thing you could tell the world, what would it be? Just one thing, not three. One. I'm gonna look at you, Kyle. What would you tell the world? You could tell them one thing.
That if you find yourself a new member of the disabled community or long COVID community, that there are a lot of people who have been working on this for a long time, helping you navigate stuff socially. There might not be, there's not, at least in the States at least, the amount, the infrastructure of trying to get us sterilizing vaccines. I know overseas people are working on it, Japan and Europe. I'm so thankful for people outside of the US doing that hard work. There are pockets here of people who really care. There's a landing space, I think, for many of us who, as someone who has long COVID but is able to, work within the parameters of energy management. It was really threatening for me to find myself a member of this community and not really know where to go. And then finding folks here and in peripheral adjacent spaces, I think so many years in the game right now, this ongoing pandemic, there are infrastructures in place, entertainment spaces in place, and communities like this where I think people just need to know we're here. And as they can work through the internal work and deconstructing the ableism of now finding themselves a member of disabled or COVID aware community, that there is a community waiting for them. And so I think that is different now, and that's something that needs to be advertised somehow.
Just to add to Kyle's point, one of the challenges, it's a challenge with the group that I run, where we have to be very, very careful how we publicize it, because there is a very, very high chance that that it's not so much that we could get infiltrated, as just that there are lots of people who are in the group who do not want a public profile at all. So obviously I'm in this privileged position that I can have a public profile because I'm not vulnerable. Whereas there are so many people in the community who are very vulnerable, and they do not want. I mean, they're regular performers that come to my event, and I don't know what they look like because they don't have the camera on, and that's allowed. We don't force people to have cameras on, because I'm going to work on the assumption that they may well be performing while they're horizontal. Oh, they just don't want people to know that. So that's one of the challenges. How do you promote something but also maintain its privacy and discretion?
Yeah, it's a trick. Yeah, I totally hear you on that. What about you, phytocene? What would you tell the world?
I think on a more maybe positive note, I think that we are very lucky to have access to the internet, for music, first of all, that we can share our music online, when I think maybe decades ago it wasn't really possible to be a musician online and to possibly make a living online. So I think that that's like masks, that's a thing that we have now that we didn't have back then. And I think the COVID conscious community is maybe in the public health history very important. And I think that we are kind of like pioneers to something that maybe, as the medical institution is always, I don't know, 20 years late on the science, we are ahead, and we are a very important movement. We are doing so much good just in the fact that we wear masks on the daily, which means that we don't kill anyone, and that's very important. We don't disable anyone. And I think that we should take pride in the fact that we are, very different individuals, but we all have a big heart, and we all are very intelligent, because I think intelligence is to adapt to a given situation. And we succeeded in adapting and having these discussions on how to make music online, how to navigate the situation. And there's so many wonderful people. And I think we're on the right side of history.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah. Teresa, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. This is really inspiring that you all are finding safe and fun ways to keep making music. I'm so glad you guys were able to come here today. And yeah, we will absolutely, we'd love to promote all of the work. We have the website, we have our social media, we're on all the platforms. And I think a virtual concert would be super fun, right, Amanda?
It is fun. It totally is a blast.
I think that whatever FAN can do to to help create or at least contribute to or just even promote the virtual concerts.
I've
I
done it
think
before and I'll do it again.
I think
People
that
are
would
going to
be
have
terrific.
people are going to have to learn the original sound button on Zoom. I don't know if you've come across that one
Yeah,
before, but it's
yeah,
essential for performance.
yep.
Interesting, interesting. All right. Well, I think that it's that about does it for me.
Well, can I jump in with one thing
Absolutely,
on
please.
creativity? So yeah, as I said, I can't reveal other people's identity and what they've been doing, but I would say in terms of musicians who are taking COVID seriously, they have been developing creatively over the last few years, perhaps in ways that they wouldn't necessarily have developed. So one of the things that I'm proudest of is that we've got a performer at the event that I host, and they play an instrument which you cannot play in a mask. There are some instruments you just cannot perform with those instruments in a mask. Obviously, you can sing in a mask, you can play keyboard in a mask, you can play guitar, but they play something that you cannot do in a mask. You'll get ridiculed if you try. And so they've taken up singing. And they would never have thought of being a front person in a musical performance. And they're still not someone who'd be entirely confident being a front person in a band, but you can now imagine them fronting a 10-piece funk band rather than just being a backing performer instead. And there is, again, some very talented performers who haven't written their own songs. So there are people who come from the classical or folk tradition where they're performing other people's songs or they're interpreting something else. And there are people who've been inspired to write their own things or do something they wouldn't otherwise have done. People have become very, very self-reliant. So they've learned extra instruments or extra technology to back themselves because you just cannot do it otherwise. So I know someone who's been using a loop pedal that loop pedals have been around for a while, but they've only got one in the last 6 weeks or so.
Wow.
And yeah, last week they beat me for numbers of performances over the course of an event. So I've got to reclaim that crown. But yeah, they did 10 new songs last week that they had never performed before. So as I said, the repertoire that some people are creating is absolutely enormous because if you're playing to the same group of people, you can't. I mean, so phytocene, when you go out and perform, I know you don't perform very often, but you can obviously play songs that are well established, and you can go to a new venue and you can play the same songs you played in the last venue. If you're playing to the same people, you have to keep developing because they won't tolerate listening to the same songs. It's lovely listening to a band, perform songs that you're familiar with, but you want to hear what they're doing next. That's always the most exciting thing, and there is a lot of creative development amongst people who that they've said to me, I've been coming to this for 6 months and now I can play for 5 hours. I've got 5 hours worth of material I can perform. So yeah, there are people who, although there's loads of things they can't do, they are developing creatively. So there is still music happening within our community.
Yeah. If it were a perfect bubble, a perfect vacuum, we wouldn't, we need those challenges to grow. We wouldn't grow if we didn't have that.
That's true. But I mean, that's terrific, really, that people are able to take the situation and find some real growth from it and be able to expand their own repertoire. That's really great.
It's proof that we can adapt, right?
Absolutely. Adaptation. Yep.
We have all three of you are providing a great example, whether you're trying to or not, you're symbols, of the scientific truth, if you may. You wear masks, you run events, you do online things. Your integrity stops you from just saying, hey, I'm going to have that in-person event without masks, phytocene. You're all setting the example, and that's great. It's inspirational. Like I said, it's hard not to be inspired by people who are just doing what needs to be done, no matter how much, alteration it has on their lives, right? You're doing extra work just to exist. Ben, you're teaching, and then you're doing, these meetups for people. Some people you've never even seen, right? It takes a lot of, heart to do that. Phytocene, like I said, you won't just, sell out and say, hey, come on down to the Virus Fest. You're like, okay, I'm doing this. It's costing me money, but I'm not selling out, because this is what's right. And Kyle, you're trouble, okay? And everybody knows.
Yeah.
You've been setting the example for some time, but I love you. But yeah, you're trouble, buddy. But no, you've been setting a great example too, and it's inspirational, right, to say the least. And it's needed, right?
It's scary going
need,
first, but we do it.
Yeah, I mean, like it's like Kyle said, you know, there's going to be people who are going to be newly, you know, added to the demographic of disabled or chronically ill and things like that. Our advocacy, you know, whether it's passive advocacy or you know direct, doesn't end if somebody gets long COVID. If you know, there's no "I told you so's." You guys' talent is still going to be there for people who need it, whether they believe the message or not. Right. And that's really admirable for, you know, and we know it's true for all of you. Right. So that's amazing. Right. So thanks.
And thank you everyone for being here and supporting these artists today. That means a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, we all need art,
Thank you.
you know, we all need art, even in the best of times.
Well,
And
thank you for having us, and thank you for putting the event on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
absolutely.
Ben,
So
I'm going to send you an Eagles CD, buddy.
I will just remind
Non-LP?
folks that this is being hosted by Public Health Action Network and Air Support Project. You can sign up for Public Health Action Network newsletters at phan.global, PHAN.global/contact. You can sign up for Air Support Project newsletters at airsupportproject.com. And you can follow us all on social media. And we will get this up onto YouTube, hopefully today, and then I will email it out to everybody who registered.
I will catch you all on the flip. Thanks for being here.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for
There's always
coming,
an
everybody.
awkward silence at the end. It's like, I was going to say
All right.
goodbye. I don't want to leave.
I know. This has
I
been
just
great.
don't want to leave you.
Oh, it's okay. You know my number. Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to go watch
go ahead.
Titanic
Take care,
to
guys.
cheer
I'll
up.
go ahead and stop the recording.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.